What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Gooner channel, a channel 100% dedicated to the Arsenal, who, as we all know, are by far the greatest team the world has ever seen. And it's a beautiful summer. It's less than a week before we play our first pre-season friendly against Nuremberg. Everything's great. It's about a month till the Community Shield. Football's coming back, and we've signed some great players. Declan Rice, our must-get for the summer transfer window, signed. Jurrien Timber, an outstanding right-back, centre-back from Ajax, signed. Kai Havertz, rather surprisingly, but a potential highly talented, highly sought-after player, signed. Reece Nelson and Saliba today, contracts done. Everything's going really well, right? But there's one lingering issue that we haven't resolved yet, and I thought I'd take a look at today. It's Folarin Balogun. Flo, should he stay or should he go? Now, unless you didn't know, and I'm sure you did, he just had the most amazing loan spell at Stade de Reims in France, Ligue 1. He finished in the top 4 goal scorers in that division behind Kylian Mbappe, who, if current rumours are to believe, may well one day be wearing an Arsenal shirt himself. Alexandre Lacazette, who has worn the shirt with distinction. And Jonathan David at Lille, who doesn't really fit this narrative, so we gloss over that. But Kylian Mbappe scored goals. Now, obviously, everyone will tell you that scoring goals in Ligue 1 does not guarantee you'll do it in the Premier League. That's a given. But he did do it at a rather unfancied club. Now, he's also recently taken the step of leaving behind any aspirations to play for England in order to play for the US men's national team. They've made him their poster boy, their star boy. He's played 2 games for them, scored 1 goal, and already won a trophy in the Nations League, the CONCACAF Nations League. So it's going pretty well. Huge endorsements, and with the World Cup coming up in the United States, you can expect this to have been a very lucrative decision for him. But I think it really shows that he wants to play, and where teams aren't looking to play him, and England recently didn't pick him, he is going out there to play, which has led to all this speculation about whether he should stay or go, because he has, when interviewed recently, said that he doesn't know what is going to happen in his future regards coming back to Arsenal, but he's definitely not going out on loan again. Now, he has, at the end of this summer transfer window, it'll be 1 year left of his contract, and as we all know, if we don't sell him now, we'll have to sell him in January, and we may not receive the full value for a player who is kind of sought after and in a bit of demand at the moment. If we can't loan him, this makes it very binary. We either keep him or sell him. So I'm going to look at those 2 options, but I think there's a kind of hybrid option here, and I'm going to make a case for one which... See, Charles Watts has been saying this for a while now, and it's really intelligent. He's saying, look, if he's only on a year contract and he doesn't want to stay, we risk losing a potential star for nothing, and that's a problem. But is it as simple as that? Now, there hasn't been a lot of talk from anyone at Arsenal, but Folarin Balogun has been picked for the MLS exhibition match that's coming up on the 20th of July. Really excited by that one. The night before that, there's a skills challenge. This is so razzmatazz, this is so American, but I think I'm going to really enjoy it. But they're going to do a skills challenge, and there is a small group of the Arsenal squad that's going out there, have been picked to compete in that. And Folarin Balogun is one of them. So is Eddie Nketiah, so is Martin Odegaard, and so is Kai Havertz, and there may be others, but they're the ones I know about. And they're going to compete in a crossbar challenge, a passing challenge. It'll be the night before, and hopefully it'll be lots of fun, and we will win it. Has the fact that he's been picked for that, is this a sign that Arteta's going to try and work his magic, convince him he's going to get minutes? So can we make a case for selling him? Well, absolutely. Look, a few weeks ago, Folarin Balogun was said to be worth 30 to 35 million. I always felt that was reasonable, if a little bit on the low side, but it depends on if you want to get the job done. If he'd gone as a make weight in a Declan Rice to West Ham, that's kind of the value that we probably would have settled on. But if he's just being sold, it's come out in the last couple of days that Arsenal really value him at around 50 million, which I think is ballpark correct. So could we sell him for 50 million? And are we likely, if we don't sell him in the summer transfer window, to get anything like that again? I don't know. We'll come back to that. But here's the teams that are apparently interested in signing him. In Italy, AC Milan and Inter Milan. Now, Italian clubs don't spend a lot of money. I don't see them spending 50 million on Folarin Balogun. They'll probably offer us a loan deal or something converts into a transfer, and we'd probably be absolutely mental to accept it. So I doubt we would. Marseille and Monaco, obviously having seen what he did at Stade de Reims, are offering. Again, these are not clubs that will spend 50 million on Folarin Balogun, or at least I don't think they will. And RB Leipzig, who probably could, but again, it's not clear to me that definitely would. So, for all this talk about would we sell him, are there people out there that are going to match our valuation? And if they don't, and this becomes important, selling him makes sense if you get 50 million. It starts to make less sense the less you get from that 50 million down. And here's why. I think there's a kind of third way. We keep him. And the reason I'm saying this is because realistically, when you look at our forward line, it's Gabi Jesus, Eddie Nketiah, Leo Trossard, and Martinelli. And Martinelli's not your first choice up front, really. Probably Trossard isn't either. In fact, out of those, there really isn't an out-and-out number 9. I know Gabi Jesus wants to be. I'm not sure he's proven that. Eddie Nketiah, I did a video about. The problem is he's had really good opportunities in the last season. I know people say he hasn't had a lot of minutes, but he did have a lot of minutes in consecutive games and then just wasn't trusted by Arteta and had no impact really off the bench. So we are looking a little bit light up front. And when I talk to people about this, they'll say we need to sign a striker. Well, have you seen who we're linked with? Tammy Abraham was a link, not so much right now. Vlahovic is constantly a player that is linked with Arsenal. Is Vlahovic, he's had a pretty indifferent season at Juventus. Don't know how keen he is to come. Not sure he's the solution, and he probably cost you more than we'd get for Folarin Balogun. And then Rasmus Højlund was a player that, he looks great. It's not clear to me that he would thrive in the Premier League, and now Man United look like they're closer to him. So who are the available targets? We're not going to go out and get Romelu Lukaku, and God, I hope we don't anyway. But Harry Kane isn't coming, Lukaku's the big names, the Victor Osimhen's, they're not coming to Arsenal. So I think at the moment we're very intelligently looking at the transfer market, saying if there isn't a player that we desperately want, we're not just going to buy one for the sake of it. So, if Flo does leave, we really are looking a tiny bit threadbare up front. If something happens to Gabi Jesus, or the fact that we're playing Champions League games, is Nketiah going to be enough? Ideally, you'd want 5 forwards. If one of them is Martinelli and he's not really an out-and-out striker, we are short of strikers. Now, I haven't included Kai Havertz in the forwards that I've just talked about there. Of course, he can play as a 9. He did that for Chelsea, but I don't think anyone would say it's been a spectacular success. We thought initially when he was signed, it was a surprise to me. I thought initially he'd been signed for that kind of challenge up front, but we now know that he's being signed very much more as a midfielder. And I'm really excited to see if that works. But it does still mean we're short of that number 9. Player with goals in him, player with a bit of ego, player with a bit of desire. I think Balogun is that. He's obviously got a very high opinion of himself, and at this point I would say he's entitled to it. If we keep him, we can say now that he's going to get minutes because Eddie got minutes last season. Now, there's one team I didn't mention that are big in for Flo at the moment, and according to the rumours and the gossip, and that's Chelsea. Now, Moneybags Chelsea could easily afford to flash 50 million at this player, but if you're looking for minutes, do you go to a team that's just spent 60 million on Christopher Nkunku in that exact position? Are you, and I don't know what they can do with Lukaku, by the way, but is it likely that Balogun walks straight in Chelsea's first team and gets all those minutes? I don't think it is. I'm not sure he does in any of the teams I've mentioned, but that means, as far as I'm concerned, if Arteta sits down with him and says, look, I guarantee you before the January transfer window, 400 minutes, 500 minutes, a number. You get to prove yourself. If it doesn't work, we'll let it go in January. Or if it half works and it half doesn't work, we'll keep you and then you'll go for free anyway. No harm, no foul. And why does this make sense to Arsenal? Because if we let him go, we've got to replace him. If we don't get the full 50 million, if we get 30 million for him and we sign Vlahovic for 60 million, then if Vlahovic doesn't work out, we're still 30 million down. If Balogun doesn't work out, we're 30 million down. I don't see it as a huge gamble. I do think that it's worth us taking a risk and saying to Flo, look, you're an Arsenal player. We're going to give you a season to prove yourself. If you don't make it off the bench onto the pitch, so be it. We'll have lost 30 million. It's not really 30 million because we never had it. But we would have lost the opportunity to make that kind of money. At the same time, we haven't had to spend any money. And next season we'll know that. I think next season is the season we're looking for that number 9, and hopefully one appears. I don't fancy Ivan Toney in any way. He's not available till January. And there really aren't that level of player out there. Yes, if we could go out there and get an Erling Haaland, perhaps that would make all the difference. But until one appears, and I'm not convinced about Rasmus Højlund, although something there worth looking at. I would like to see Folarin Balogun duke it out with Eddie and Nketiah, plenty of games, see if we can give them both games. I'd play them in games, not to tempt fate, but sort of the Nottingham Forest at home game. We don't need to play Gabby Jesus for every game. And if we do, we don't need to play him up front in every game. I'd really hope that we stick our neck out. Arteta has a word with Flo and just convinces him, that sort of magic word that Arteta seems to have with players. He sticks it out. He does really well. He scores lots of goals, and those goals are of huge value as we win the Champions League for the first time. I'm getting ahead of myself, but I'm sure you have your own comments. Please do leave them in. Thank you for watching up to now, and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Lots of love and be lucky!